Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
When someone dies, the world should stop. But it doesn't. The sun still rises, your phone still buzzes, and your fiancé still asks if you remembered to order the fondant roses for the cake. 3 months had passed since the accident, since my parents, Miriam and Ahmed, were swallowed by a rain-slick highway and a jackknifed semi. The night I got the call, my bride Lily was painting her nails lavender and said, "Oh my God, what?" Both of them. She didn't hug me. She didn't cry. She said we should stay strong, because the wedding was only a few months away. At the time, I mistook her detachment for shock. The signs had been there before. I just hadn't wanted to see them. It was my father who saved Lily's parents' hotel from bankruptcy 3 years ago. Franky Langford, Lily's dad, had mismanaged everything: staff, taxes, even fire codes. My dad, an accountant with a stubborn heart, spent endless unpaid hours helping him stabilize the books. My mom organized the hotel's first event weekend. Nicole Langford praised her like a queen at the time. Afterwards, my parents paid for a semester of Lily's sister's college tuition. But now, they barely mentioned my parents' names. Last week, when we met with the florist, Lily's mom Nicole looked right at me and said, "Let's not do anything too sentimental. We don't want the whole ceremony soaked in grief, do we?" I had said nothing. I smiled politely, like an idiot. But the final crack came a few nights ago during dinner at the Langford's house. It was supposed to be a casual family evening. Instead, it turned into a one-sided negotiation about who would sit where at the reception. How much say my side of the family should have. Meaning, of course, no one. My parents were dead. There was no one left but me. "I think the Langfords should sit at the head table with us," Nicole announced. "After all, they're the ones who'll be most photographed." Lily looked up from her wine, nodding. "Makes sense. No offense, Omar, but your side is just smaller now." I froze. "Smaller," I echoed. "You mean gone?" Lily blinked. "Don't twist my words." "No," I said quietly. "I think you mean exactly what you said." Franky chuckled from the other end of the table. "Don't be so sensitive, son. You know Miriam loved to make everything about her. Now she doesn't get the chance." I stood up. My chair scraped sharply against the marble tile. "What did you just say about my mother?" Franky raised a dismissive brow. "I said what everyone's thinking, but no one has the guts to say." Lily glanced between us, her voice barely a whisper. "Let's not make this a thing." I left the table. I drove home in silence. That night, I lay in bed next to Lily, staring at the ceiling, listening to her scroll through social media as if nothing had happened. And I realized something I should have seen long ago. She didn't love me. Not really. Not the way someone should love a man whose heart was still in pieces. And yet, the wedding was days away. I still didn't know what I'd do. But the cracks had formed, and crystal never shatters quietly. The rehearsal dinner took place on the eve of the wedding at the Carlton View, the very hotel my parents once saved from foreclosure. I remember standing outside the glass entrance, adjusting my tie with trembling fingers. Somewhere between grief and pride, I hoped foolishly that tonight would redeem the past weeks, that Lily might show me some grace, that Franky and Nicole would offer a moment of decency. Instead, it was a spectacle. Champagne flowed like water. A string quartet played as if it were a royal gala, not an intimate rehearsal. Nicole had even hired a brand photographer to capture candid smiles for her social media. I didn't recognize half the guests. Lily greeted me with a kiss that barely brushed my cheek. "Try to smile tonight," she whispered. "You look like someone died." Someone had. 2 someones. But I said nothing. During dinner, Franky made his first toast. He tapped his glass and stood, grinning in that smug, performative way he'd mastered. "I'd like to thank everyone who's helped us get to this moment," he began, raising his glass, "especially those who were truly essential." He looked at Nicole, not me. "We've built this from the ground up, haven't we, darling?" Nicole nodded proudly. "With no handouts, just hard work." I blinked. My knuckles whitened around the edge of my chair. And of course, Franky added, chuckling, We've got Lily marrying what is it again, Omar? Your father sold insurance? My breath caught. There were polite laughs from a few guests. Lily smirked behind her wine glass. My father, I said steadily, was a financial analyst who pulled your business out of 6 figures of debt. Franky waved me off. Oh, come on. Don't be so sensitive. Miriam always had that flair for the dramatic too. Guess the apple doesn't fall far from the well, you know. He laughed. Lily laughed. And something inside me cracked for good. I stood, the chair scraping back so hard that several guests turned. I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I simply looked at Lily, who now seemed so impossibly small. You laughed, I said, at my mother. Lily blinked. Omar, please don't start. I'm not starting anything. I'm ending it. A hush fell. Forks stopped clinking. The quartet slowed to a confused silence. I turned to the manager standing nearby. I need the money I paid in full for tomorrow's wedding banquet to be refunded to me. They can have the party. Let them celebrate and pay for it themselves. Gasps echoed. Nichols' jaw dropped. Lily shot to her feet. You're canceling the wedding? She hissed. I nodded. Yes. And this time, it's not a dramatic flair. It's self-respect. I walked out of the hotel my parents once saved, leaving behind laughter that suddenly felt hollow, and a future I no longer feared letting go. The morning after was eerily quiet. No calls from Lily, no texts, just the echo of my own decision playing on repeat in my mind. The city felt colder, unfamiliar. I sat on the edge of my bed, the suit from last night still draped over the chair like a ghost I wasn't ready to confront. At 9:13 a.m., my phone rang. Nickel. I let it ring. Then came the barrage. Franky calling, Lily messaging, unknown numbers, voicemails dripping with outrage and disbelief. Finally, I answered one. Omar. Nickel's voice snapped like a whip. How dare you humiliate our family in public? You ruined everything we worked for. I exhaled slowly. You mocked my dead parents, Nicole, in front of strangers. You think I care about your embarrassment? Oh, please, she hissed. You overreacted. Everyone laughed. That's the problem, I said, and hung up. Not 10 minutes later, Lily appeared outside my apartment, pounding on the door. I didn't open it at first. I didn't know he'd say that about your mom, she shouted through the wood. I opened the door halfway, but you laughed. Lily's eyes were red, but dry. I was nervous. You blindsided me, Omar. No, I said quietly. What blindsided me was realizing the woman I loved didn't respect my grief. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. I guess I never knew you at all. I added and closed the door. This time for good. But something told me the Langfords weren't done with me yet. 3 days passed. I hadn't spoken to anyone, barely eaten. But that morning, a courier envelope arrived, thick and worn, with my name written in my mother's graceful handwriting. I froze. Inside were 5 letters, each addressed to me, sealed and dated in the weeks before the accident. My hands shook as I opened the first. Omar, if you're reading this, it means we're no longer by your side. That thought breaks my heart, but I want you to know we were always proud of the man you became. I had to stop. Her words blurred through tears. But tucked inside was something else. Copies of bank statements showing the thousands my parents had transferred to the Langfords over the years. Payments marked loan for hotel, Nichols' emergency surgery, and one in large print, tuition for Emily Langford. They'd helped them through everything, quietly, with dignity. I couldn't hold it in. I dialed Franky's number. You think you can just walk away? He snapped the second he answered. You embarrassed us. No, I said. You embarrassed yourselves. And I've got every receipt to prove just how deep my parents' kindness ran. He paused. You should pray I never make them public. Are you threatening me, Omar? No, I said coldly. I'm promising you justice. And for the first time since the wedding fell apart, I smiled. 1 week later, I stood in the same restaurant that was meant to host our wedding. Only this time, it wasn't for love. It was for closure. Franky and Nicole had been invited, unknowingly, to what they thought was a settlement meeting. They arrived smug, dressed like royalty. "You dragged us here for what, Omar?" Franky scoffed. "To beg for forgiveness?" I gestured to the private dining room. "For the truth." Inside, I prepared a projection screen, a small guest list of mutual friends, and a stack of printed documents. The lights dimmed. Screens lit up with images, my mother's letters, transaction records, photos of my father handing Franky a loan agreement dated years back. Gasps echoed. "This," I began, raising a glass of water, not champagne, "is a toast to the forgotten. To Miriam and Ahmed, who saved your family from ruin while you spat on their memory." Nickel's mouth parted in disbelief. Franky turned pale. Lily, who stood silently in the corner, didn't speak a word. I set the glass down. I may have walked away from a wedding, but I found something better, my worth. And as I turned to leave, the room stayed silent, and only my dad's watch bracelet jingled on my wrist, and my mom's necklace in my pocket also reminded me of my beloved parents.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.